a department that's going to really put the focus on agriculture. So in the Department of Natural Resources, you have water, land, mining, oil, gas, minerals, timber, and then there's agriculture. If you really want to put the focus on agriculture, if you really want to give it the attention that it needs so that we don't continue to find ourselves in the position that we're in right now, you really need to break it out as its own department so that it can become a sister department to other departments throughout the country. For example, I was talking with a couple of governors this week, and they were talking, I asked them, how long have you had a Department of Agriculture? Some of these states have had them for a very long time. And the agriculture sector in many of these states is the driving sector for many of these states. But nonetheless, they approach agriculture now as a science. They partner closely with their university systems. They are looking at research all over the world in real time. They're talking to each other, sharing ideas. The division, we've had a division for some time, and here's where we're at with agriculture. And so if we really want to change this, if we really want to be feeding ourselves here in 10, 15 years without having to import all this food, now's the time to start. The other thing that agriculture will do is in most cases, underneath agriculture is also silviculture. What is silviculture? That's the growing and treating of forests and trees almost as a crop, from the standpoint of making sure your forests are healthy, making sure the wildfires are abated the right way, thinning when you have to make sure dead trees are not there. All of this is going to make Alaska a much stronger state, a much more independent state, and in many cases a wealthy state if we can grow this sector. Government should provide basic services, roads, police, schools, and you should be able to feed yourself. I mean, agriculture is at the base of any civilization. It's at the base of any functioning state. For the countries, some of them in the Middle East because of the dry climate, some small city states like Singapore with large populations, they have to rely on others. And again, after going through what happened with COVID and then supply chain disruptions, people going to the shelves and there's products that aren't there that they always relied on, you have to ask yourself as Alaska, do you want to basically have an insurance policy which is a growing, robust, strong agricultural sector, or do you want to continue to hope we can get products here, hope we can get products here on time, hope we can get products here at the price that we want them, that are reasonable, or do you take the bull by the horn? So I would say this, there are a lot of things we can dodge. There are a lot of expenditures in the state of Alaska that we have looked at, we'll continue to look at, and we can find savings. But if you can't feed yourself, you don't have a roof over your head, or if you don't have public safety, you don't have much of a state, to be honest with you. And so we're too reliant on other states. It'd be different if Alaska was placed in the middle of the country where you had Iowa on its border and Indiana on its border and Oklahoma on its border. Within a few minutes, you've got trucks coming across the border to feed Alaska. We're at the top of the world. We have to be able to take care of ourselves. And so for those that fear that this is going to cost an extraordinary amount of money, we're basically going to move the division into its own department, stand it up, and then put the focus on what is needed to make sure that that department works well for farmers, and then be able to grow that sector where eventually, and hopefully sooner than later, some of the proceeds from what the farmers are growing begins to help to pay for that department. But again, if we don't do it, and if the legislature feels that everything is fine, we can feed ourselves, we have nothing to worry about, if they forget about what happened during COVID, or if they forget about the supply chain issues, we're going to put ourselves in a tough spot, I think. Well, tell the Russians that came here in the 1700s, because they brought animals with them, they brought root crops with them, they were living here and farming here. In 1917, the University of Alaska was formed as an agricultural and mining college. Not an oil college, not a gas college, not an airport college, but an agricultural and mining college. So the view back then was you had to feed yourself. But what really happened over time was that in the 60s, I think we had 50 to 60 farms in the state of Alaska. But then what you get is you get large chain operations, large chain stores. And they start to use loss leader on things like milk, which ends up driving your dairy industry underground. And so long story short, here we are in 2024, just about everything is flown in. Yes, we have farmer markets. And yes, more people are starting to farm. But unless we come up with a systemic approach, a cohesive and comprehensive approach to agriculture, we may end up just hitting and missing. We may end up having farmers who invest and without marketing help, without a lot of help using research and science, we may just clunk along and we may by luck be able to feed ourselves. But unless we're going to start to view ourselves like other states, that having an agricultural department will really put the focus on agriculture, really help us grow things, really help us market things, really help our farmers, really help make sure we have land available, and that there are co-ops like there are in other states, we will find ourselves back in the same position we're in right now. I had assumed before I got into politics, I'd assumed Alaska had a Department of Agriculture, right? Because I went to the University of Alaska, I worked for the University of Alaska, and it was started as an agricultural and mining college. If you look at our seal, the seal of Alaska, if you look at the bottom of the seal of Alaska, the base of it is an individual farming with horses. The Mat-Su Valley was started as a colony for farmers from the upper Midwest during the Dust Bowl to start agriculture here. So you can see these significant efforts at trying to put together a coherent approach to agriculture that haven't quite gotten to where we can feed ourselves. This department's going to help us get there. From what the information that we're getting to our staff and others is overwhelming. We had the Farm Bureau down at the mansion here, a week or so ago. We had a dinner, and they were all excited about the possibilities because they know that a department run well is going to give them the help and the attention that they need. A lot of these people, and farming is very difficult. It's subject to weather conditions. It's subject to price conditions, and being at the top of the world, it's a tricky proposition on its best days. If you have a department that can actually help, again, with the marketing, with the science, with the co-ops. And what a co-op does is it brings farmers from all over the place in Alaska together if they want to buy feed, or if they want to buy seed, or if they want to buy machinery. We can put, group things together to make things cheaper in terms of shipping them up here on barges or flying it in. And then that's just the beginning. We're just scratching the surface. But again, if we don't do it, we will probably continue to have an agricultural sector kind of what we have right now. Spotty, hit or miss, farmers doing the best they can, trying to market their products, farmers doing the best they can to be able to grow products. But I see tremendous opportunity on a whole new sector growing in Alaska if we're able to stand up this department.